welcome to Einstein Eats. Today we're gonna make a 14-hour smoked beef brisket recipe to make sandwiches. First, you have to get the smoker warmed up. Smoker has to be warmed up to the right temp before you even start. Now I give you all the ingredients, go ahead and get them all ready. Here we have our brisket. We bought a big brisket, it was on sale, it was a great deal. And so there's just a few of us here, so we cut it in half. We're gonna use the point. It looks pretty good. I'm excited. So first, you have to trim off a lot of the fat. It's good to have some fat on there to keep it nice and moist as it cooks, but too much fat and it's not as good. Don't get me wrong, I do like some of the fatty parts, but you want to trim it off. You want to leave a little bit, and what we do is we keep these fatty pieces and we cook them too because they make delicious treats for me. You can put them in my food, you can mix them around, you can heat them up, you could just hand them to me once they're cool. Either way, I really enjoy them. They're really good for my coat to make it nice and shiny. So you just want to trim it up, you want to leave a little bit of fat on there like I said. So go ahead and get out your olive oils or whatever oil you have and rub it onto the meat a little bit. And then sprinkle your seasoning. So I use my own seasoning. I really like it because it's my own, and like, who wouldn't like to have their own seasoning, right? So this one is my Savory Garlic Rub. It's so good. So we rub it on in there, we get it good. You know, you want to apply a good amount because a lot of it falls off if it's cooking, you know, some of it gets burnt on there. And you're really only gonna have the seasoning on the edges of the brisket most of the time anyways. It's not gonna be all the way through the meat. I would suggest not seasoning this until right before you're going to put it on. So some people like to season it the night before and make it sweat. Sometimes it makes it a little too salty if you aren't into salt. So maybe use a low salt rub or something to kind of combat that if you want to sweat the meat the night before. But that's up to you. I just like to do it the day of, right when I'm, getting it all ready. So we make sure to use it all on the pan. You don't want to waste anything. Waste not, want not. So look at that. Oh, it makes me drool right now. My mouth is watering. Yes, get all that seasoning. Don't waste anything. Look at that. Oh my. I think it needs a little bit more right here. Yeah, we're gonna put a little bit more right here. You don't want to under season it, that's for sure. And if you don't want to be fancy, you can just use salt and peppers. All right, our smoker is finally up to temp. Like I said, in between 190 and 225 degrees, it fluctuates. So as long as you're in between those, you're good. We're gonna place it down with the fatty side facing up so the fat drips on there. We're gonna place those fat pieces that we trimmed off on top of this so the fat kind of drips into there for the next 2 hours. Look at that. Nice. And that way those fatty pieces don't go to waste. So keep the smoker temp even. Make sure to add wood. You can't just walk away. It's a daily process. You're there all day. So after the 2 hours, I go ahead, we take those pieces off for the Einstein, the fat, and we put it into a little tin foil right next to the brisket so it can smoke too. We let it go 3 more hours to a total of 5 hours, and then we pull those pieces off. And those are my pieces, they cool. So after the 5 hours, we take the brisket off the smoker, we wrap it in tin foil real tightly. You can use butcher paper too. We let it go another 9 hours until it's about 165 degrees on the inside. Then we take it, we let it rest on the kitchen countertop for 2 hours. Now after this point, we were tired and it was time to go to bed. So we just rewrapped it in tinfoil once again so it was nice and clean. And we put it inside the fridge until the next day, until we needed it. So as dinner approached, we said, hey, let's cut this open. We cut it open. You can see the fat is kind of congealed on there. And we just kind of, you know, slice it up. Now slicing it, you have to slice it against the grain, If you slice it with the grain, it's very tough. Once you kind of slice a slice, you can pick it up and it should kind of expand and have like holes almost, you know, like where you can see like the meat, you know, stretching or whatever, the lattice type look, you know. And then if you cut it right, it's gonna be fall apart delicious, I'm telling you. Put it in the oven for 15-20 minutes, 300 degrees. We don't want to overcook it, you know. But now you got to start on your Brussels sprouts. The Brussels sprouts, you leaf them, you cut them down, you cut off the bottom, you add 2 tablespoons of butter, and you cook it on like medium high heat. You take those out of there, put them into a bowl. Then you take your buns that are already buttered and you can just put them right in that pan so you don't have to clean more pans. Who wants to clean more pans all the time? Once those are crispy and come off, pull your meats out of the oven. Mayo, barbecue sauce, brisket, Brussels sprouts on your toasted Kaiser roll. I hope you enjoy it. Remember, keep your nose wet and your paws dry.